Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you over here.
Rev Z here.
And we're a couple of ministers talking shit. And that means it's Friday morning here on the New Thought Media Network. So we're so very, very grateful you're with us. We'll be here for the next half hour or so talking about, well, whatever it is that's in our hearts and our minds and whatever shows up in our news feeds sometime on Sunday morning. And one of the interesting things we ran into, so Z, if you haven't heard yet, there's this new form of digital art called NFTs. Now they're weird. I don't know exactly all of it, but basically people are making a lot of money from these digital files that are digital art. Well, I love this because there's a meme that's been out for a long, long time now. It's called Disaster Girl. And some of you may remember the Disaster Girl meme. This is what it looks like. Now, the young girl in the photo is now a young woman, and she made that image into an NFT and sold it for $500,000.
Wow.
Exactly. So I think I'm going to go look through my old box of photos, see what kind of weird, crazy stuff might be in there, and see if I can turn it into a digital art piece. Maybe somebody will want to buy it.
Yes. I mean, it's so ironic, I guess, that what we as a society has devolved into, I would say, in terms of how we enjoy the picturing of the world, where we have taken disaster things. I mean, that's a great photo for a news op about a house that burned down and maybe the cause or whatever. But after that, it should be a historical archive if I'm exploring fires or something along that. But to sell those for profit at $500,000, I would have a question mark.
I definitely have a question mark. Now, I applaud the young lady because I'm sure that image had been turned into a million different memes.
Wow.
Her image is all over the internet. And so however that originally got out, it's been co-opted and taken advantage of. So I actually like that she's turning the tables and is going to set herself up for financially because of that image.
Right.
Because, and I know others, we have a friend, a young woman that went to teen camp who a photo of her was stolen and turned into a meme. And was all over the world for quite a while, and it's still out there. We go find it right now. So there is something about, hey, she's turning the tables
right
on the internet.
Right.
So I guess, I know what my work is today. I'm going to go figure out how to make an NFT.
Yeah. I'm going to go figure out what the heck it is. I don't even know what the dang on thing is, but I'm sure I can get one though.
Yes.
At that price.
Yeah, exactly. Just need to sell one or two pieces of art. You're all good.
Yes.
So
what a concept. It's interesting. The whole thing. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, or art is in the eye of the beholder. It raises a question mark of when we start clamoring for morbid, and that's not really morbid, but when we start clamoring for art that is I don't know, on the darker side, or moving toward the darker side. You know, it gives an indication of where we're headed or where we are, and how do we move back to another side?
Right. And there is definitely, well, you and I say it in different ways all the time, right? Is what we're doing contributing to life? Is it move, right? Life is prime. Is it moving life forward? Is it detracting and holding back from life?
Yeah. Yes.
And speaking of holding back and detracting from life, let's talk about Joe Rogan for a minute. Folks, if you don't know Joe Rogan, I didn't know really why he was so famous until we started looking at him this morning, but he went out and made some comments that he's now retracting and sort of backpedaling on about young people and the coronavirus and the vaccine, and basically that you shouldn't go get the vaccine if you're young. Folks, we have no clue what this thing's doing in the world. Get vaccinated, please.
Yeah.
And if you're a new thoughter who thinks that you don't have to get a vaccine because that goes against our beliefs, I saw this yesterday.
Oh, no.
That people saying it goes against the New Thought belief to get a vaccine because our faith is in God. So by getting vaccinated, I am proving that I do not believe the New Thought principles that we teach. Exactly.
Yes, that is ludicrous and ridiculous and just downright idiotic.
Duckless, yeah. Can I say dickless on the air?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's and Mr. Rogan, I will give him his credit. He is retracting the statements. He is coming and saying, "Hey, wait a minute, I need to reevaluate so on and so forth." And folks, we were joking before the show. We're going to file this one under, if you're not a doctor, please keep your mouth shut.
Yeah,
that's where this one goes. I get it.
We've gotten to the point, even in news, where people are, we still got we want this shock factor. We want this approach to where we can create some space where it's just like, how can I get the most attention, say the most outrageous thing within the limits, so that people can say yes to it. And it's like, or get excited about it, or run it past, I don't know what. But it's like everything has become entertainment, whether it's news or whether it's entertainment or whether it's information. It's all based on an entertainment value. And I think we sometimes get lost in the rhetoric and the shock and awe of it, and we miss the important messages. I don't know. It's shocking.
I think a lot of people get lost and it is tough because everybody's trying to shout a little bit louder than the guy next to him. And yeah, come on, he did his job. He's got us talking about him on a Friday morning, right? A lot of news outlets, and a lot of media outlets, and a lot of talking about this guy this week. And so, but is that really what we want it to be about? Is that how? Right? Does that bring anything meaningful to the conversation by playing, quote, the devil's advocate, if you will?
Yeah. And I think I understand that there are people out there who do not appreciate the vaccine rather. And they want to state a case why you, as you said, point counterpoint, why you should or should not get it. And I think, as you said, let the science speak for itself. Everybody has an individual choice. Do your own homework. If you know someone that you trust, you can consult with them, but don't let some personality on a podcast, me included, or anyone try to tell you how to take care of your body and make your individual decision. And as we know,
Right.
there are choices and consequences. So we can't get away from them. I don't care how we got to the answer of doing whatever it is we do. So that's my thing.
Right. And, and I respect that in a huge way, Z, and I honor that because as a black man in America, you got all the right in the world to question the veracity of vaccination campaigns by the U.S. government.
Yep.
People of color and various colors have long been outright tested upon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a report yesterday, and it was one of those ones that I guess somewhere I'd probably heard this already, but it never truly sank in that the medical establishment operated under a belief system that people of color don't feel pain. And it stopped. I was like, nah, wait a minute. And I had to rewind the video I was watching. This is why I love YouTube. You could rewind and check yourself. And did I just hear what I thought I heard? Because it was like, we couldn't have been that stupid, but we were.
And it's just so bad that a whole society, not just individual people, but a whole society came up with these kind of ludicrous ideas that blacks are not really human. So, or they're only 3/5 of a human. So we can do things to them that would cross a moral, ethical, medical, all kinds of bounds. And it's not bad because they're not fully human. I mean, right. it's and although some people are saying now, well, that was then, this is now, yada, yada, yada. I get that potentially, but those things are ingrained into the system now. The names have changed. Look at all the different names, Black, African Americans, some of the better ones. And then you go to some of the more derogative ones, colored, not Negro, and so forth and so on.
Right.
All of these different reframings of a thing does not change the thing itself because you give it a different label.
Right. Yes. Just like God.
Exactly.
It's still God, no matter what name or label you want to put on it. And, okay. So let's get into our main story for the day, because this is the one that I think is kind of the heartbreaking piece of the day. You asked me this morning, you said, like, we're going to have to cover what the problem that's going on in India. And I'll admit, folks, I wasn't paying enough attention, and I didn't know until this morning, what's going on in India. And they are experiencing another wave of the coronavirus that is decimating the population.
Yeah. They I think they said there's something like on average 330,000 cases a day.
Yeah. I saw one that said 3,500 deaths a day from the virus in India right now. So number one, we're lifting up prayers, we're lifting up consciousness. And this is something that, it's interesting. So there's like this mixture of this intersection going on over there, because the culture is so focused on the human body at its death and the funeral pyres. They're burning bodies at 10 times the rate of normal per day. They're running out of wood. They're concerned on how long their wood supply will last,
right,
to continue to take care of these bodies. If the call centers are working a little slow this week, folks, give everybody a little bit of extra compassion.
Yeah.
If you got to be on the phone with somebody, and because we know that American business specifically has taken advantage of the Indian workers for quite a while now. I would hope that some of these companies are doing things help the populate, to help the people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because I saw something that said that relatively every house has a case.
wow.
I mean, it's like there's like no safe space, right? Because they're already heavily populated, right? So you know, and that culture is a intermingling, you know, communal based culture. So people, if people have gotten some kind of notion that we're through the worst of it, because at one time they had a very low case
Yeah.
count.
Yeah. Their first wave, their early waves, they did, it seemed very, very well.
Yeah.
And they've run out of vaccines.
And oxygen.
And oxygen. Bottled oxygen, that's, another tough one. So, you know, folks, again, this is sort of our, if you're not a doctor, please stay in your own lane.
Yeah.
And we're not doctors. We, from the very beginning of this, and we've been doing this show just over a year now. We've been here pretty religiously every Friday morning, and we've been following the ups and the downs of how this thing has been going. And, you know, I'm very grateful, while as contemptuous as vaccination is here in the United States, I'm very grateful that we're leading the world in vaccination rate, and getting our people and getting people in this country to get the vaccination. I had my second shot last week. I'm good.
Hey.
And if there's a third, if they say go get a booster in 6 months or a year, I'll get in line too. It's worth it.
And you know, and one thing I've noticed, I know I got an email from my son's school, from his college, and a lot of colleges are making the same statement, that come the fall, for you to come to campus and participate in on-campus learning, you need to be fully vaccinated.
Yes. Burning Man was having that conversation. And, you know, right, the ultimate in free flowing, whatever goes, anything's, and there were serious conversations going on within that organization as to whether they needed to require a full vaccination this year or not. And then 2 days later, they canceled Burning Man for 2021.
Wow.
Which means the the overall safe thing to do is require it. And their overall ethos said, we can't do that. So they canceled, and which is the responsible thing to do.
Yeah.
Like kudos to Burning Man. I've never been. I understand that if you've been, and you know what it is, and it must be tough to cancel an event of 70,000 people. I mean, it's just a 70,000 person event. It's not a small gig. And to cancel a gig of that size for a second year running is not easy. No. Not preferred. But we've got to continue to hear. And here's my point in this. We as a people on this planet, because we are a planetary people, we are a one global family. You can get on a jet and be anywhere within a day. We have to be equal. We have to stay diligent about this thing.
Yeah.
Keep washing your hands. I'll tell you, it's amazing. A year ago, I can remember I walked into a public restroom right in the earliest stages of this. And I was like, yep, it's 10 o'clock in the morning and the trash can is overflowing with paper towels.
Yeah.
Because and what that tells me is that we don't wash our hands. But I'm scared, so I'm going to wash my hands today.
Yeah, exactly.
No, wash your hands.
And you know the other thing too is, I think hopefully the gains of awareness and hygiene and healthy eating and all of these things that have been highlighted during this pandemic, I'm hoping that some of it, if not most of it has become ingrained into a large enough body of people that we begin to take these habits and ideas and push them forward to always be as hygiene and to always eat as healthy, to always try to balance and get some exercise, because we are one planet. And that's how these things, that's how these viruses and stuff spread, because we can't isolate forever. We know that. We just seen what the results of that is, and we weren't fully isolated, right?
Right.
People were still getting out saying that they don't think this virus and it's not true and it's hoax. And so we, the thing of a global interrelated and interconnected system means that everybody has to have love for everyone and everything, because it can take one small unseen thing to disrupt everything.
The entire planet. Yep, to disrupt everything. I'm with you. I really do trust that people, that we continue the good habits we've developed, that we continue to look at the changes, that we continue to look at how to change our society. And, that brings us to the final piece we, unfortunately, and begrudgingly have to cover today. There's one of those, joy, oh my gosh, here it is again. And somehow there it is. We want to send our love and our prayers and our highest wishes to the family of Marvin David Scott III. This was Texas, right, Z, I believe?
Yeah, Texas. North of Dallas.
Marvin died while in police custody earlier this month, and the local coroner has ruled it a homicide.
Yeah.
Now, this is breaking news. This is coming out this morning. The stories that we're seeing, at least, are so you may hear more about this today. Marvin David Scott III. We don't know exactly all the details. There are some details. He was in, and it sounds like this happened inside the station. So he was already, we don't know. We do. What was the crime, Z?
He got arrested for, I think, less than 2 ounces of marijuana.
Less than 2 ounces of marijuana. Which in Colorado is called Tuesday. Right. And a lot of other states, that's just called going home from work. So obviously we'll probably be hearing more about this, but Z, this is one of those ones, it pushes my buttons, and heard that and I just went, I'm done with the defund the police. I'm done with refund the police. I want somebody to start policing the police. Yeah. And not the police.
Yes. And we don't have time to get deep into it, but I saw a program last night on PBS on the Independent Lens called Code, as in program code bias, that looks at AI programs that are being created and used for everything, in terms of who's a criminal, who's not, who's worthy of a job, who's not, who's worthy of a mortgage, who's not. And it's strictly mathematical.
Right.
There's this young lady out of Harvard, black lady named Joy. I forget her last name, who's kind of featured in this thing. And they got mathematicians and data scientists and all over the world. They showed a piece in London, and it's beginning to get, in London, I think they said they had something like 1 million plus, and I could be way off, cameras. I thought they said 6 million, but I'm gonna scale it back and say 1 million plus cameras that are taking people and doing face recognition and then doing whatever with those pictures. I mean,
London is one of the most heavily video camera cities in the world. My understanding, like you can't go anywhere without being on multiple cameras in pretty much the entire city, and they've got you covered. So yeah, so they're taking your facial recognition Now, are these officials or are these nefarious characters?
No. It's just officials. It's the government.
Okay.
It's the government, and you know, people are concerned because they're not quite sure what they're doing with them, but they know they're being fed into AIs, and they're like, "What are you doing with this? What kind of profile are you making of me?" And it speaks to a lot of the stuff on social media where those pictures are there. They it's a program worth watching. So Independent Lens called Code Bias, just to get a feel of how we have to begin to operate and be aware of the new environment that we're living in.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm gonna hit this one real quick. I get the whole predictive marketing thing, right? So I'm looking to buy an item, and the algorithms recognize that, so they start showing me ads. So if they're that smart, how come they can't tell that I bought one of these items last week
And stop.
and I'm just waiting for it to be delivered and stop? Exactly. My oldest looked at me. I shared this dinner table. My oldest looked at me and said, "Dude, that's easy. They're hoping that you're not going to like the first one. They're betting that you bought crap from their competitor the first time around, and they're going to stay in front of you for what they think is just long enough for that thing to break. So when that thing breaks, your first thought will be them." And I'm like, "Oh God, you're right."
Yeah. I looked at, I haven't read this book. I stumbled on it this morning. I'm going to go and read it. It's by Miguel Ruiz. He has a book called The Fifth Agreement.
Yes.
And in that book, they talk about, he talks about symbology and cultural learning and making agreements on what we consider to be true or not, from what I could glean from the summary. And the little part I read said, we have all somehow bought into this system on the symbology and the meaning and everything. And he says, what needs to happen, or what I gleaned, is we need to reframe that. We need to come up with a new cultural model. We need to come up with new symbology so that we can move this thing beyond the haves and the have-nots and this separation ideology and create something based on a oneness and a unity ideology. Because right now that old program system is just running rampant and causing complete havoc, where we can sell a disaster picture for $500,000.
Right. Do you want the spoiler alert? Do you want to know what the fifth agreement is?
Bring it on.
You're gonna love this. Be skeptical, but learn how to listen.
Ooh.
So it's a two-parter. I have the book on the shelf, and I remember it was like, "Oh, the fifth agreement, yeah," and you get it, and it's like, "Oh, but I gotta listen." Wait, and that's one of those things a lot of people don't like doing.
Hard one, because everybody want to make their point.
Right. And I forget where I saw this one. It was, right. Our work is to listen in order to comprehend and to comprehend the emotion, not to form a response.
Right. Yeah.
And unfortunately, even those people that say, "Oh no, I'm a real good listener." Yeah, but you were listening to me. You were forming that response.
Yeah.
Something in your head went, "Oh, I know how to answer this. I'll just tell them I'm a really good listener." And then you checked out until I was done talking, and then you told me you were a really good listener.
Right. Yeah. and that's we all can take a dose of that medicine and say, okay, there's the whole thing about, all right, before you say anything, count to 5 or take 2 deep breaths or whatever you need if you were listening at all, to get centered on the information that was just given to you so that you can have an appropriate response wherever that fits in the spectrum. Because sometimes the best response is no response, right? It may just be an affirmation, I understand, or yes, or maybe it's, can you explain that a little bit more? I didn't quite get all of it. And not be so quick to try to, show off my escalades, if you will. Like, really?
Yeah. I just had this image of Christian DeQuincy and right and Pierre Grimes trying to have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's an inside joke, folks, but there are a couple of modern day philosophers who have very opposing perspectives on consciousness and life, and not opposing, just very different ways of approaching it.
Yeah.
And we study both of them in ministerial school. So there are always going to be skeptics. And being skeptical is good.
Yeah.
But we have to listen enough and be willing enough to allow our minds to change.
Ergo, the statement from Ernest, our founder, stay open at the top.
Yeah.
Right? Stay open, because you will find some new information that will supersede what you already have, and you're going to have to incorporate it some kind of way.
Yep. All right, folks, that's our call for the weekend. Stay open at the top. Share us in prayers and be part of what we're doing here on the New Thought Media Network. We're going to take off for now. Busy day here around the network. Rev Melissa's coming up. Morning prayers are at 8:15, and then Rev Melissa at 8:30 with the morning sip. I'll be back at 9:30 with the Peace Circle. Heart of Peace meditation. Peace Circle's on Mondays. This is the Heart of Peace meditation. And Pastor Michael Mangus will be with us for the fireside chat later this evening. So,
and remember also tomorrow, Labyrinth Day.
Yes, and tomorrow is World Labyrinth Day, May 1st, World Labyrinth Day. Get out and walk a labyrinth somewhere tomorrow. I'm going up to Bailey and going to walk Reverend Kathy's labyrinth up in Bailey, up in the mountains, and I believe it's going to be simulcast on a video program of some sort. So should be a lot of fun.
Should be fun.
We're out of here, folks. We love you. We'll look forward to seeing you again real soon here on New Thought Media Network and here with Z and I on Ministers Talking Shit. Until next time, peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. Have a great weekend.